All right, guys, welcome back to Blackacre Ranch. Today we've got to get prepped for the inevitable working of the buffalo come later this year. So we've got ourselves 15 or 17 calves, 22 adults, and we've got a problem that we're trying to find a solution for. So anyway, stick with us. I'll fill you in on those details about calves and tracking them to their mothers. All right, guys, we're standing here at this handling facility, and partly it's because we need to do a little bit of work on this. We're coming up to the fall, and obviously this is when we work our buffalo, okay? Typically, you don't want to work your buffalo a lot. Working your buffalo stresses them out, and that's when we run them through the squeeze chute down there, and they get all their injections. You may tag some animals, you weigh them, you give them whatever it is, worming medication, stuff like that, okay? So this is the conundrum I'm coming up with, and which means we have a problem. I need to find a solution. We need to do something. As I'm still watching Ahmed because he's sniffing ladies more and more. So we have a bunch of calves. We have 17 calves, and keeping data, I need to track how much, well, what calf goes to what mother, right? And there's different ways you can kind of try and do this, right? Well, you got to tag the animal and then have them be with a mom, and then you can say, well, tag number 1 goes with this number and this one goes with that number, right? So that would be obviously the thing you could do, but it's not so simple, right? Now, I know all you cow peeps would just say, and I've been asked this before, why don't you just like go out there when they're first born and go wrangle them up and just put an ear tag in the calf? Well, buffalo don't do that, okay? Buffalo are kind of pissed if you do that, and the moms don't let you get that close. Ahmed is like giving me the evil eye. He's just sitting there, and then he glares at me, and then he just sniffs her butt. So we can't just go up to him and just go grab the calves there, right? You have to kind of wait for a time when the mom will let the calves go, or the calves kind of willingly get a little bit more ambitious in separating themselves or free. Anyway, and so that's kind of like a time like right now. They were born April, May, so they're about 5 months, 6 months. And a lot of them are getting to that point where they're just willingly leaving. Other option that people have brought up, and that is kind of out there, that's floating besides just doing the cow approach, is what if you just shoot your calves with a paintball and mark them in a certain pattern, so then when you run them, then you mark out which one it is, and then you run them through the chute, get everything forced to wean at the same time. Well, paintball pellets don't last that long on these animals. You maybe got a couple hours. So the other thing is, what if you just go grab a spray paint can or something like that? You mark lines and utility things, like on that stick, and you just go do that. You can't get close to these guys, all right? And you got to be accurate with where you place it so you know the pattern. Anyway, all these solutions I've thought of, and I'm just trying to think of this. Really, the simplest thing to do is you just send them through the squeeze chute. Even doing that has its own problems, okay? So buffalo, they don't like to be stressed, and it stresses them when you start working them and everything else. They get very instinctual or animalistic, whatever you want to call it. They go to the whole like flight response type things. They don't think as much. So they don't try and hurt you necessarily, but you will be hurt if you're kind of stupid. So whenever you work the animals, it kind of stresses them out. If I take the calves off the mothers and I do it in a pressured situation, that's where you bring them all into the handling pens and you run all the gates and you force break them up as they're going around, and you finally isolate all the calves. That's a pressured situation. The moms go away, then you take all these calves and you throw them through the chute, give them their stuff, boom, you let them back in with their moms. Pressure situation number 1. Now I can record all the data on them. Everything's great, right? Now I gotta wean them. So now I gotta ship them back in here, do whatever I didn't do before, but run them through the whole sort, chutes, all this other stuff, separate the moms from the calves. Pressure situation number 2. Then I gotta take all the adults that are left after all the weaning's kind of been broken at some point, and run all these guys right back in the handling pens and run them through the chute so I can work all the moms and the bulls. That's pressure situation number 3. And then if perchance you sell animals, you run them right back in here and you sort them back through, okay? That could be up to like 4 situations where you're just pressuring these animals. And you don't really want to do that. If there's a way that you can get these animals away, the calves away from the mom at the very beginning, and get them tagged, I don't have to run the moms through the entire handling facility, like this one over here, and stress them all out. Because you only have with buffalo so many goodwill, okay? So when we're sitting here in this whole gathering pen, I can get them in here because I feed them in here. So all I have to do is go get some stuff, put them in here, put the troughs up, you know, with the food in it, and they come in here. Great. The next problem is getting them inside the handling pens, okay? If I do that once, it's kind of like that fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or whatever that whole saying was. It's kind of like that, guys. If I had to do that 4 times within like a 2-month period, they're going to freak out at me. The bulls are not going to be happy. Nobody's going to be happy. And they'll learn pretty quick, you know what? I don't want to go in there. So we're going to try and get away from this pressure situation, okay? We're going to try and find a way to separate the calves from the moms without having to pressure them in pens. And we're going to use feed as the lure. What we're going to do is we're going to bait the calves. Now, it's fairly common to have what's called a creep feeder or a creep feed system, or whatever buzz name you want to give to it, right? And the idea is that what happens is there's a little portable, removable cage that sits around it and has a front gate. And that front gate allows calves to pass through because it's so thin and get this creep feed. The creep feed is like a feed given to calves to help them transition from milk to solid feed. Obviously, these guys freaking don't need it. So, but we're going to take advantage of the instinct to want to get extra feed. So what we're going to do is, if I can bait them with the idea of a creep feed into a set pen and get them used to coming in, I might be able to get all 17 in without having to actually pressure them and divide them from the moms, because they willingly submitted to the entrapment, right? So this is where we're at. This is pen 4 or 3 and pen 4. They're right next to each other. This is right next to the gate that goes to 5. Squeeze chutes over there, main alleyways there. So this is the 2 larger of the pens that we have of the 5. And I figure what we can do is put a creep gate right here, okay? And we're gonna have to make it, but this is 11 feet 10 inches opening, top and bottom, in this spot. And I'm gonna use that other gate as like a template to look to see what it is that or how we have to size this thing. And if I can build it here and make sure that it fits, the idea would be is let's put a couple troughs in here, and during the days during the week, we put some feed in here and hopefully get the calves accustomed to coming in. When it comes time, we can shut the gate, lock them in, and then run them through and get everything done, and then kick them back to their moms. Their moms aren't stressed, you know. Maybe thoughts of losing a baby might stress you out, but at least you're not running around about it, right? You can just sit there and grunt. So every mom who's lost a kid in a mall or an airport's freaking out right now. But I did lose a child at Disney World, I'll tell you that. That isn't a fun feeling. But we'll lock them in here and then ship them back. That'll take away one time that we have to pressure them. And then we can kind of sort everything else out down the road. But I think this is a good idea. So let's go check kind of our materials, our game plan to fit inside this, and how are we going to do it? Because honestly, guys, this is all about getting it to be stable. Buffalo like to destroy everything. They like to test it and eventually play with it. So we've got to make it somewhat stable, somewhat secure, and I guess see how it goes. Now, I know you guys are probably going to say, like, Dusty at Cross Timbers tried something. He made them too wide and his cows ended up going through it. Right, so that's why we're going to use the template of the existing one that we have and space it accordingly, and so it should match. And, you know, if it doesn't work, well, we're right back no different than we are today, right? Well, let's just separate them again, but we're going to give it a shot because we don't want to pressure them any more than we have to. I seem to park on the other side, and this is like parting the Red Sea here. Everybody seems to be aware that we're here. Don't you be looking at me. I know what you're doing. All right, we're gonna have to part the Red Sea here. The bulls have been still interested in girls. Now that it's not 110 out, they're kind of back into this little groove, and I don't know how much I want to push it. So we might take a walk around. Let's go this way. Ahmed, were you bothered by Bartok being around? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, let's get you some food.
All right.
Well, it looks like flies are back. Bartok is over here and Ahmed is over there. So I can't remember the last time if they ever did have like that grunting match, at least at the time of food like this. Ahmed was just going crazy, and so Bartok, I guess, got pushed away. I don't know if other ladies are in heat, if they're, again, continuing this breeding now that the heat is not 110 degrees, but Bartok's over here, and Ahmed did not seem to appreciate Bartok. The calves are getting more involved with their feed. They're coming over, they're eating a lot better, but also they're cutting in front of traffic as I'm trying to drive around. Has been a little bit difficult. But yeah, you, little guy, you. Yep, you guys are eating it just as much as anybody else is. Well, it's obviously been a few days. Sat here and thought about it. We've actually brought over a bunch of materials, and it's time to get back to this. Now, good news, guys, right? Now, you remember how I'm like, hey, look, we've got to keep this something that ideally is portable, it's easy to set up, it's easy to take down. I did not realize how big this was. I didn't realize how tall it was. I was thinking it was a lot smaller, but this is almost, what was it, 6-7 feet wide, something like that?
7 feet, I think.
So this is kind of how it works. If you imagine the creep feet are sitting back here, these arms come up and attach next to it, and an arm over there would come up and attach next to it. And then the calves can come in through here. These are about 15.5 inside to inside. So I think this is actually pretty big and is big enough for us to do kind of what we want. So all of this thought of, you know, getting this wood, getting wood over there, using T-posts and everything else, I don't think we need to do that. I think if we just keep this super simple, I can take off this arm. There was one over there we took off, but I could take off this arm and just use this and a portable panels, and we can get it all set up and we won't have to do anything else, right? So we're gonna give that a shot. Bug, you wanna come in here and help me? And it just has this little guy in the bottom. I think this will work. What do you think?
I think it's great. Like, super simple, and we'll get what we want out of it, I think. So I'm really excited.
Can you open the tailgate? So also, these guys are where all those pins go, the connections. We can use these for locking down with chain and hooking up to the poles, like the panels, the fence, that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I was wondering if I should weld something onto it, but I'm optimistic. I really am, and hopefully this is a lot easier than it needs to be. It's like, why re-engineer the wheel, reinvent it, when you've already got the wheel sitting next to you?
All right, we've just fed all the buffalo. We're done with that. They're a lot more chill now. By feeding them, they kind of leave us alone when we come in here now. They'll probably even go back out into the pasture. I see a couple out there already. Time to pick up the 2 troughs that we're gonna put in there for the feed for the calves. Sure is nice to have that opening now. Makes it way easier to get in here. did a good job.
Now, can buffalo jump this? Yes. So we've been thinking, should we just stick like a board between here and wrap it and bring it over to here? We may do that, I don't know. Let's just get this thing chained first and see. You know, the thing is, like, when they're out and you have these things set up, I don't know of any bulls that jump over it to go get to the feed either. And the feed here is going to be definitely further away, so I don't think they're going to jump it. I don't think that they would think to jump this to get into there. I don't know. They can, but I don't think they're going to bother with it. If the feed was like right here, I could see him getting a lot more angry and a lot more agitated by it. But since the feed's 40 feet away or 80 feet, I don't see that maybe being a problem. All right, so these hooks are going to be the saving grace. I'm going to try and get it so this will actually hook it down around so they can't lift it up as well. So on the bottom, we're going to grip these, and we have a chain that doesn't have the hooks, but my wife went over and got these little, like, I think these are for like wires. It's not what I was thinking, but you know, it should work. Really, we're just going to loop it through wherever it needs to be, and then tighten it up a little bit. Go through that, and maybe go through that. All right, bud, let's see if we can make this work. There we go. So I'm gonna move so much. Here we go, this guy.
Portable panel has just some chains down there. We can just loop around.
Yep, we do have chains. Just in case this wants to swivel or come out, we could just use these. Okay, so how this is gonna work is we are gonna get some feed. We're gonna dump it in these guys. And it's going to take a little while for, like, I think the calves to kind of figure out what's going on, and for the adults to realize that they are not supposed to get it. But we picked these two pens because they're different sized from the rest of the pens. So the ones over here, I think they're 48 by 36.
They might be 48 by 48.
They might be 48 by 48. These are 72 feet long. So I wanted to make sure. Well, there's two reasons. One, I wanted to make sure that there's enough room for 17 calves to come in and not feel like it's too cramped that they can't come through the gate. So I put one here, and I put one over there because I wanted to make sure that we had enough bunk space, right? And we could probably get 8, 9 around a bunk. So if we had 2, that means we could get all of them in and actually feeding and feeling like they can actually feed. So bunk space was key, and then also I wanted it far enough away from the gate. And over in those guys, it just didn't offer as much space, right? But second reason I'm doing it over here is when we work all the animals, we're gonna bring them in through that gate and sort in those smaller pens. And then as we sort, we then are gonna store them here. So I wanna get the adults in their mind used to going through that gate in and out as they go back and forth between the feed pen. They used to come this way. We've since closed that off. And now they're supposed to go out and around. Somebody's messing with the barbed wire fence over there. But we're gonna get all that conditioned, the animals. And this is all conditioning. The first week, I'm not gonna really try and get these calves, you know, captured, but it's all conditioning. I fully anticipate as we bring all the animals in, we may get 5, we may get 4. But if we keep doing this over and over and over again, all of the calves will soon realize when we come in here, it's food for them. And I think it'll work. We just got to give it a week. We got to be patient with them as they learn this. But I am, like, seriously so stoked. I've been wondering how to do this, but if that's all this takes, man, we can do this every year. No big deal, man. This is going to be sweet if we can get this done. So I'm hoping. Here's another advantage of this gate, where it's at. When it comes time to lock them, I can then come over here, shut this, and then we worry about then doing everything, sorting them and bringing them into the chute to give them their ear tags and whatever else, right? So I don't have to worry about
the stress of the mom and the
the stress of the moms and coming in here and wondering what's going on, and this not being a reinforced gate. So anyway, I could have built this from scratch, and I was going to when I first started. It wasn't until I got over there and really started thinking about it, I was like, holy crap, we probably don't have to do that. Don't reinvent the wheel, guys. Some of the things, like you probably saw from Dusty's, you know, when he did this, I like had the exact same idea as he did, but don't make these too far apart. I measured these, again, they're 15.5 each, and then the height wise. So a mom was gonna struggle to try and get her hump underneath this. Maybe you'd say, even 15.5, man, she's gonna struggle to even fit through it. But between the height and the width, you just gotta make sure you get those ratios right. So if you wanna build one yourself, go for it. I was gonna do it out of steel, but I thought, why? So anyway, okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna preset these other panels and get them prepped for the buffalo. Actually, here, come on with me to do that. And what we normally do is we put an alley and we kind of build a funnel. So I want them to get used to the idea of this funnel being here so they don't freak out. Because, you know, if you just all of a sudden show up 16 guys and flags and start moving panels around and then go to work them, they already know something's up. So it just kind of gets a little bit more difficult that way. So I'm going to pre-stage again to get them acclimated to it. So hopefully it's not such a big deal in their mind when we start actually trying to sort them and trying to push them. So first step, calves, hopefully pressure free. Second step, get all the animals. Now, I will say, to alleviate this pressure, I may leave this thing up so that after we bring all the calves back, we continue feeding them in here, and hopefully we can then separate them off during the weaning stage, just like we did during the tag stage, right? So hopefully that takes two pressure situations away from having to run moms and dads through here, get them all riled up. Anyway, that's my idea. You know, we'll see if this works, but got to get these things in position.
Right there. I'm just gonna straighten this guy out and we'll have a funnel. Hi, Tracy. Had some good hay? We're just gonna go hook this gate open.
All right, so this isn't exactly how this is gonna look. Really, it's just been, I've been fighting trough, and then the hay's sitting over here. So when we get time and closer to it, we will actually not have the hay sitting here and maybe in a different spot, and we're gonna move some of these troughs maybe out of the other side of the far ones over there. So it's just a juggling act, but it gets them in their mind thinking this is here, it's not unusual. I will swing this a good amount and maybe grab then that other third one and just try and give them a choke point. Hopefully things go smooth and we can eliminate the pressure situation with weaning and tagging, and we can get all these moms and calves put together so we know who's who and what's what. That way we can then identify who are the good performers, who are not the good performers, make decisions on do we cull, do we not cull, and it's actually based on data as opposed to, you know, this is my favorite cow, I'm going to keep her no matter what. Well, that's kind of dumb to do unless you just have a hobby farm. So you got to have some sort of criteria in which to gauge these guys, and we're trying to do that. So we're going to end this video here. We are actually going to start feeding them. We'll get videos of that in one of these next episodes. Like I said, it could take a week, 2 weeks. We're going to see how it's going. We'll probably show you the progress as we're going through this, try and see how many animals can we get at one time and how that's all working. So if we can get all 17 in right now, it's just not going to do any good because they're all sitting over there. So all right, it's kind of muggy today. I'm going to leave it here. Thanks for joining along with us, guys. Pray this works, and we'll catch you next time. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you later. Bye.